With a strong foundation and a little bit of sense and imagination, it takes just the slightest trigger to change a person. Megumi Fushiguro is my favorite Jujutsu Kaisen character and someone I consider to be one of the better written characters in the show. One which is thorough, intelligent, caring, selfless, and considerate. He has many significant moments in the series, however, his most defining moment is what elevated his standing for me, his domain expansion. Or, more accurately, the conditions in which triggered his domain expansion. Up until that point, Megumi always had a if worse comes to worse, I'll blow this bitch up attitude, willing to sacrifice himself using his ultimate trump card. Sure, the battle would have potentially been won, but not the war. Megumi saw no further than that singular moment he was in, being one of the greater analytically gifted characters in the series with his ability to deduce and ascertain information in a short amount of time, accompanied with his curse technique and heritage. He's a credible threat. Yet he's always so quick to, well, kill himself. So it's funny when you have someone who is so smart and logical, but the second a slightly inconvenient moment occurs, he tries to unbreath himself. So with such potential acknowledged by Sukuna himself, why does he think so little? When Gojo told him you can only determine undervalued pieces of data of yourself and others, you can't imagine a stronger future version of yourself. I believe this is reflective of someone who deliberately caps himself at a ceiling, but can only exceed that ceiling at the cost of something immense. In that light, any true development in knowing that fact is subsidiary. But he's selfless. He puts the lives of others over himself. An admirable trait, but you hinder your own development, your strength. You'll always be known as that guy who almost made it. A platform of support is important, but your individualistic merit should be the foundation of your strength if this is the world you choose to be a part of. So why was this so crucial to Megumi, and more importantly, what were the applications here? We often perceive selfishness as a negative attribute, as if the very idea of being self-serving is the opposite of community, that altruism should always take precedence. Do you know the people who project such things? Those that don't know how to want purely for themselves. Those that believe in the idea that an act outside the collective benefit is an act outside said collective. In fact, I'd like to argue from a psychological egoistic perspective, which is the notion that all people act in manners which benefit themselves, even in cases which appear to be selfless. You support charity, it comes from the desire to illustrate power and showcase a strong sense of care to the majority. You pay for someone else's meal, you planted the idea of reimbursement in their head. Whether or not you are aware of it or not, it's still self-serving. Now, I'm not saying Megumi does all his acts due to selfish intentions. However, that suppression of being greedier will eventually cause your wealth to be only as valuable as the company you serve. If all you do is for the benefit of others and those others inevitably disappear, what will you be left with? His domain expansion is, how he described it, ugly and incomplete, which I like to interpret as a reflection of how he sees himself when he decides to take the initiative to fight as an individual and not as a team member. That growth trajectory will only stabilize the more you give in to yourself. Even to where Nanami described the sensation and power of the Black Flash and its activations, he described it as being in the zone, having a sense of omnipotence like everything revolves around you. An incredible curse technique that can only be accessed by the subconscious belief that you are the strongest. This attitude is not one which is similar to having a superiority complex or being narcissistic, but instead having ultimate confidence, something Megumi lacked. But on the cusp of being ready to sacrifice his life, again, he thought back to Gojo's words, "You don't know how to bring out your best." This inability is due to the lack of focus you have on yourself, where you want to be, who you want to be, how you want to be. At that moment, you make the decision to remove yourself from all the sidelines. No matter how much you have, no matter what you can do, you drag the idealistic version of yourself from the future into the present, and you catch a glimpse into the power that is within you. So when he said his domain expansion was incomplete and ugly at best, but followed that with him stating that for the moment it was acceptable and how he was laughing menacingly, it was a breath of fresh air, a rush of adrenaline, expanding that horizon and placing yourself at the center, the first step into bringing out your best. What Megumi exhibits in this scene is the trait that only resides in the best of sorcerers in the Jujutsu world. The belief in your own power as opposed to operating through cooperative means and thinking no further than that present moment. His self-awareness and lack of faith in himself is what propelled him into being able to soar to greater heights. That acknowledgement that the action to be greedier and to fight for yourself is not feigning to the mindset of alienation or superiority, but instead placing the importance of the self above everything else when it matters the most. Dying to win? and risking death to win are completely different. So die to win.